This is the expanding table. Thank you for your interest in the plans. When you buy the plans, they're available as a download immediately in a zip file. There's a couple parts to it. Let's have a look at the first part, which is a PDF, where I have diagrams and discussions, things like that. It's 47 pages, so I've taken a selection of the pages here, and we're going to look through it and see what they contain. After this, we'll take a look at the other parts that come with it.
You'll get an email after you order, which will have a download link. And when you click that download link, it'll download a zip file. Unzipping the zip file will create this folder, and you'll have the files that you see here. We're going to take a look first at this top one, which is the main PDF.
Keep in mind that this is not every page of the plans, just a representative sample, if you will. So here we have an exploded view for the cover page. We have an introduction with some general notes talking about the tools required. Then we come into a materials and parts list where I go through all the major components, talk about how many you're going to need. We have some links here for specific products. And then we have that same exploded view a little bit bigger, and I identify what I'm going to call each part of the table in the subsequent sections. And then we jump into some diagrams here where we have top views, support level top view, dimensions for that, talking about the ramps that lift everything up. One thing I added in this version were some angle diagrams showing that things are 90 degrees apart from each other, and then where they are relative to a half section of the table. For some other components as well, here we have the lower sliders with the spacer blocks. This one is broken out into two sections because that has some features underneath this notch here that we need to look at. Then we come in, we're going to skip quite a few pages down to page 30 here, and we have for each one of those sections also a discussion section where I just talk about it with figures again for close-up views on those. Bits of advice here. This is an actual photo, looks a little better in color in the PDF, but displaying the nylon lock nut, which is actually upside down so you can get it started, but it tightens down all the same. Here I make a recommendation to look at this part of a specific video to illustrate something a little bit better. This is a layout, just a guideline for the metal sheet, steel or aluminum, both would work, 1/8 inch thick. A 16 by 24 I'm showing here will take care of all 8 arms, the slide bottoms, and the star pieces. Now that's the end of the main plans. Here I have a 1-to-1 pattern for the arms, speaking of those arms that we just saw here. These are a specific shape. You can draw it out, I have the dimensions, but it'd be a lot easier if we had something to trace. So what I've done here is made a 1-to-1 size, and we have reference scales to check to make sure your printer is checking out at the right size. Talk about that here. And what you do with these is you take this, does not have to be cut nicely, I'm purposely doing this with an ugly line, and then we can take and overlap these grids. It actually works slightly better with a little bit thinner paper. Well, may not make it that much of a difference. We can line up the edges. If it's thinner, you can see through to the other side, which speeds it up a little bit. But we get these lined up. Takes a second to get it just right, and that creates a full-size replica of it. And then we also have a reference check in addition, not just to these, from center to center of a touch under 16 1/4. Then you can tape this, glue it on the other side. You could trim this out, transfer it to a piece of cardboard or thin plywood if you like, and there you go for your arm shape. Rather than having to draw this out and say, where's my reference for this radius, I felt that it made it a little bit easier.
The model is the next main component. This may not look too impressive here at the beginning, but what we do is enable the layers dialog here, and then we can click the visibility. And a lot of these components, or all of them actually, are separated onto layers. So we're going to turn off the star here, and we can see inside. We're going to turn off the main surface panels, and then the skirt. And in all of these positions, whatever you have enabled or disabled, you can rotate by using the orbit tool, which is this one up here, and have a look inside. You can zoom in if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse. That's usually mapped automatically to the zoom. So I'm going to roll it forward to go in, back to come out. So let's turn off the skirt and the legs here. And we can come in, drop down low, and kind of see how the parts relate to each other. This is mainly as a reference. All the pieces are the right size, as close as I could get them. A lot of them are exact, but it's not really expected that you would go in here and measure these yourself. That's why I have the dimensions in the other plans. But it should be accurate. It has all the parts. I mean, I spent a lot of time looking at this table, and it looks exactly like it. And then we can turn off some upper layers again as well, and get down here. If you want to see just the support level, we can see that with our interior ramps there. So that is the SketchUp model. Back to the folder briefly here. So we've seen the main part here, and when I went over that also had the one-to-one pattern. We saw the model. This part is just a one page giving some general instructions how to use the other parts. And then between here and here, we have the vector files, and these are for people who have a CNC machine that may want to cut out the main flat parts. And we'll go in, these SVG ones don't show up particularly well on my computer because they're identified as an Internet Explorer file, but we'll open up the PDF, which is also, it's in the vector, it's not a bitmap PDF. And I'll open this up and we can look at those files. These are the PDF files. They're full size, so this is actually something like 60 inches square, or whatever that is in millimeters. Up here I have a reference square, and the purpose of that is to allow you to double check and make sure that it hasn't gotten scaled strangely in some way. So 5 inches divides or multiplies evenly by 25.4, so it's 5 inches by 5 inches, 127 by 127 millimeters. And then this is the piece itself. This is the support level. These parts go all the way through, which is why they're shown as having white. This is a depression, which is only an 1/8 inch, 3 millimeters. This is 3/4, all of these, 19 millimeters. We go to the next one, the lower level, slightly smaller because it fits inside. The difference between this and this, the diameter on the support level, is where the ring rides, the outer skirt. So then here's the lower level, upper level. That is also a depression. Then we come into the octagon, or the center part, which all the arms connect to. This one isn't super critical, but I put it in here because it's easy, and since you need 3 of these in one of those, it may be easy for people to cut it out, use it if it's helpful. Here we have the main panels. I put these in here as well because if you have a CNC machine, it'd be much easier to cut this out and these out than to do it by hand, although it's not particularly difficult to do it manually. That's how I did it. You do need to route some dados along the edges though. And that's it for the vector files. These are also available in the SVG format. CorelDRAW didn't want to export into DXF, so that's why I chose these 2 types. If there's an issue, just let me know and we will work something out. There you go. I hope that overview was helpful. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to email me at scott@mechanicallumber.com. You can also find that email address down lower on this page and a few other places on the site. Thank you.